The Houston Rockets, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Orlando Magic are all on 5-game winning streaks. Whose streak stops first? Who can push the furthest? We can talk about that today. And also, De'Aaron Fox and James Harden both make history. We're getting into all that and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. We got StevO, myself, Haize in the building today. Apparently, my dog Loki wants to be in the show as well. But StevO, man, we got three teams right now, all on 5-game winning streaks. The Houston Rockets, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Orlando Magic, all riding 5-game winning streaks coming into this week. I want to ask you, before we talk about who's is going to stop and go the longest, question I have for you: who you been most impressed by over the course of their 5-game winning streak?
I have to say it's a mixture between Orlando and Houston.
Okay.
I feel like they're not only was we seen them make strides, most importantly, I think we seen Orlando make the bigger stride last year, and we already knew the type of possibilities and potential that Houston have, but they kicked it up a notch, both of them. They're multi-talented, they great coached, and not only both teams defend, they defend very well,
Yeah.
they rebound the ball. They're a big squad. Both squads is kind of eerily similar. The big squad, they can score and they could defend, and that's a recipe for winning, and that's why they on that 5-game winning streak. So most importantly, those two, I'm probably most impressed with.
For me, it's the Orlando Magic only because Paolo's out. And Franz Wagner, over these 5 games, he's averaging 28 and a half points per game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. He's getting blocks and steals, all types of things. Franz Wagner is really stepping up big time. And it was the big question on who was going to step up offensively. We know the Orlando Magic had that defensive base that they were going to be able to rely on, even if Paolo is out. You know, Paolo was important to their defense as well. But who was going to step up offensively? Suggs made a step up, but Franz is really continued that, and he's been really good. And so, considering what they're missing, the Orlando Magic have impressed me, but the Lakers are not that far off. You know, they went through that 3-game losing streak. They made some changes there, but most importantly, I'm impressed. Like, AD's been great when he's healthy. Make no mistake about it. He's playing at an MVP slash defensive player of the year level. But it's really JJ Redick. JJ Redick as a rookie head coach and what he's been able to do with that Lakers team and have not just a system, but getting guys to buy into. Like, people thought that D'Angelo Russell moving to the bench could turn into a distraction. He's really embraced that role. And I think that goes a long way in JJ Redick as a head coach, kind of getting Russell to understand how he actually benefits him and the team for him to come off the bench. And Russell's really responded with some of his best basketball this season so far.
Yeah, and I think that was the one thing that was kind of hindering this team. Like they with Russell being there, he needs to understand he has to be a certain role, and they have to understand his role. There was too many
Yeah.
times where they wanted him to be the facilitator. I'm like, he's not a facilitator; he's a bucket. So they're utilizing him in stretches and roles, and when he can play make, it's more easier because he's more into his role. When he's more into his game and he's understanding the process of it, that's when you can kind of feed into that facilitating side of it. That's why I feel like they're playing so well. But yeah, like JJ, I mean, I think because of all the recent head coaches that are rookies, Steve Nash's of the world,
Mhm.
that came in and didn't have relatively good success their first time. I kind of think we came in just not necessarily doubting him, but just seeing like, just show me what you're gonna do. And we've seen him revamp this offense completely to where is best suit for this Lakers for his current illustration and roster, which is AD at the forefront, not tweening between Bron and everybody else. So Bron is clearly the second fiddle in this whole role, and that's what it needed to be the last few years. And like you said, AD health is probably the biggest reason why they're able to do that.
Yeah, that's 100% fact. Let's get into this though. Who do you think's 5-game winning streak continues? So just to make it real quick, the Rockets opponents this week: the Bucks, the Pacers, and they play the Portland Trail Blazers twice. The Lakers face off against Utah, Orlando, and Denver this week. And then the Magic have the Suns, Clippers, Lakers, and Pistons coming in this week. So who are you picking
It's
right now?
clearly between it's clearly
Go.
between the Lakers or Magic
Yeah, you think
because
so?
they for the face because they
Yeah,
for the
finna
face
face
each
each
other.
other.
Yeah, because I was already looking at who you just I was looking at I want to say I was looking at no Houston. Houston they could win the next 5 games. They
Yeah,
play Milwaukee, the Pacers, and then I think it's a trash team they
Portland,
got to play
Portland
back.
twice.
Yeah, they,
The
yeah,
Portland
they got to
twice.
play Portland twice, so they gonna win the next 5 games. So I'm not too much worried about them. But yeah, because it's the Jazz next for the Lakers, which they can win. Then right after that's Magic. It's
Mm-hmm.
between the Magic and the Lakers.
Yeah, I think that's a part of it too. Is like because the Lakers and the Magic face each other, they're the easy case here. And while the Magic have still been playing really good, I don't like with AD playing this way, man. I'm gonna pick the Lakers over the Magic as it stands right now. We got a few games before we get there, but I think the Magic's their streak stops first just because they face off against the Lakers. But
Yeah.
yeah, and the
And
Rockets push this thing
I
far.
just think JJ is a little bit more creative on the offensive side of the ball, that he probably can somewhat on the offensive side out coach their coach as well.
Okay.
And that's what I'm looking at. That's gonna be a coaching battle more than it is a team battle. And it's gonna be a team battle even more. So it's gonna be a game to look out for.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Well, we both pick Houston for their streak to go on the longest because of who they have on their docket. But the Houston Rockets have been sending kind of mixed messages. So it came out last week that Tari Eason, Amen Thompson, of course, Jalen Green and Shingun are all off the board when it comes to it. This came from Tim Bontemps and Brian Windhorst, both kind of colluded on this and said that was both the same thing. But then when you get into other things talked about is that Ime Udoka does want a star, and that the Rockets could put a portray. They're watching and monitoring other stars that could become available in Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, and also Giannis Antetokounmpo. And while I don't think many people doubt that the Rockets could put a package together with the young players that they have, and they have multiple picks from now into 2030, which they could include in deals. But I'm going to throw this one to you, Steve-O. What do you think is the right path for the Rockets to go? Is it what Udoka wants in obtaining a star? Because we've seen in the NBA, you need stars to win a title. Or do you think that the owner has the right mindset of let's let these young players continue to develop before we go in and go in too early on a star, much like the Clippers did, for example, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Paul George? That ends up being one of the worst deals that they make. I'm sorry, not the Clippers, the Thunder. I'm sorry, no, the Clippers made in sending out Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to the Thunder to get Paul George. What do you think is the right path here for the Rockets?
You potentially have 3 potential breakout stars on your team. Why are you
Mm,
sitting here trying to go look for something? I think, as you were saying here, I'm sitting here like, why is Ime thinking like this? Then I had to remember he just came from playing
came
with
from the
Jalen
Boston.
Brown and Tatum, so I'm like,
Yeah.
that's why he feels like he has to do that. But I've always said, if you got to draft your stars to be successful for the long run, and your team is built for the long run, and like I just said, you have you got Jalen Green, who has the potential to be a franchise player, still going to be a part of your core. Sengun could be that breakout star. And as quiet as it kept, a lot of people forget about it. Maybe even for Tari could be one, because we've seen he has uber talent. And
Mm-hmm.
what's the one boy that not Amen, the other guy, Smith, Jabari Smith.
Oh, Jabari Smith. Yeah.
Jabari has the potential to be a breakout star as well. So I feel like the owner. I'm glad the ownership is there thinking the right direction, because you didn't build the team the right way. You done built through the draft. Now you have a team that's kind of playing above or where they should be at. This is probably what, year 2, year 3 of that process.
Yeah.
And you picked up a significant contract. Not saying he's a star, but in Fred VanVleet. So yeah, I think you should just keep riding the wave, keep doing what you're doing, because you're producing some good players right now.
Yeah, and I can understand whereas like Ime Udoka is like yeah, you have a lot of players that could really hit a leap and be stars, and then at that point you got a young core there that you don't have to give up, and you got picks coming in. You could be like the OKC Thunder, whereas like they got picks coming in every single year to where they can replenish off young talent, and so I just it's. We talk often about going all in, but you can go all in on a trade and it complete too early and it completely can
Blow it up.
ruin, yeah, completely ruin the path that you're on. And I don't think you could trade Amen Thompson yet. Like he's only in his second year. He's showing so much potential in what you wanted for him at. And this team just fits together now. Jalen Green, whatever unlocked in him last year after Alfred went down, and I had my doubts on if he was going to stay that player coming into the season. He has. He's that player now. He locked into that. And so I think you have such a good young core of players here. And it's not like you don't have veterans. You got Van Vliet, who's playing really good for you so far.
Jalen Brunson.
Dylan Brooks as much of a head case as he was at some point, like he's kind of shedding that label and just been a guy who's been really good for the culture and the defense of this team when you need it. I don't think you ruin the chemistry that you have here yet. I understand Ime's thought process. Like you typically need a star to truly compete for a title. But we also see it's like once every 10 to 12 years, it's that team that doesn't necessarily have a star, but is just a deep team that ends up winning a title too. And you could be that next. We're overdue for that team to come at some point.
Yeah, and to me, like I just is it me or I'm gonna ask you like, is his mindset too far ahead, like ahead of the curve? Like you talking like you need to be in contention. Like the ownership not pressing you to be winning right now. They're not
Yeah.
pressing you to be a champion right now. Like I don't know why he has. I mean, it's cool. It's good to have a championship mindset, which is
Yeah.
cool. But to say that you need a superstar right now is just. I don't think it's true. I don't think you necessarily need one. You're 6-0. Shit.
Yeah. And then at that point in time, too, like you also got to look at, and this is something that teams have to start looking at. I'm not saying this is necessarily what ownership's mind is, but you're also under the first. You're not even close to the second tax apron. And as you're re-signing these guys, like they could have $135 million in cap space in 2 years. You can add a star theoretically if you want, rather than give. You can add to your young core. Yeah, you're gonna have to re-sign some of the guys, so some of that cap space is gonna come off of there. But you can add a star to. You can do basically what the Warriors were able to do in adding KD without having to
Mhm.
give up anything because you've built the team through your young draft picks that you brought into this team. So I just think right now for them to go all in on the star, especially an aging star like those guys, yeah, it can make you a championship contender right now, but it also can completely backfire. And then you see one of those guys turn into the star elsewhere.
Because I'll tell you right now, you bring Jimmy Butler in, somebody gonna ask for a trade within 2 years.
Oh, bro. And he could really mess up the. And I love Jimmy, but he's a player. You have to have a very particular mindset to be able to play with Jimmy. He could
Yep.
completely disrupt the chemistry that you've built with these young guys.
Yep.
So
I already see him and Jalen not clicking.
yeah, you're absolutely right on that one, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's our thought process on that. Let's move into the next topic. StevO, De'Aaron Fox did something that only two other players in NBA history did. You look at the 109 points he scored over 2 games for the Sacramento Kings. One of those being in a win, and the last game he did it with DeMar, Malik Monk, and Domantas Sabonis being out. He makes history, joining only Kobe Bryant and Wilt Chamberlain as the two players to score that many points over a 2-night span. Michael Jordan didn't do it. LeBron didn't do it. Kareem didn't do it. Shaq, KD, Steph, none of these players did it, but De'Aaron Fox did it. Here's the question I want to throw to you. Not only how impressed are you by what he's able to accomplish, but do you view De'Aaron Fox as a star in this league?
Yeah. He's an underrated star. I feel like I think a lot of people gave Drew Holiday the most underrated player in the league, which is to his credit, it is some
Mhm.
validity in that. But now it's fucking De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox don't get nowhere near as talked about as he should. Even with the whole thing over the summer, I don't know what Sacramento gonna do. Oh, we got DeMar. I'm like, no, you got a guy right there that y'all just need to build around some more of. Like, you got a solid team. You just need to build around it correctly. Is DeMar the move? That's not the conversation we having. But at the end of the day, he's a fucking star.
Mhm.
He's shown that star quality since he's been going at it against Lonzo in Kentucky. That he's been showing that, and he's been doing that. And if even they came up short, even that playoff game, that playoff series with the Warriors even showed you. He tried, he did everything in his power, and he showed up. He showed up what they call injured and all. That's a star right there.
Yeah, and I think the thing that keeps some people that they talk about him like he's not a star is mainly because they just don't watch. And that goes to the NBA. I think that the NBA is like, look at how many nationally televised teams the Lakers have had and how many household names know Austin Reeves more than they know De'Aaron Fox. And that goes to the NBA not knowing how to build stars. That's what
Yeah,
that means to me. Because De'Aaron Fox and what the Kings are down there doing, like they're a fun team. De'Aaron Fox is a fun player to watch. He's been one of the best clutch players in the NBA for the last 3 or 4 years. And I think it just comes down to it. I get it. Sacramento's technically a small market team or whatever, but like the NBA to me has to do a much better job of just promoting and pushing these young players that are playing really well and they're just fun. Like it's just fun teams. Like the whole light the beam thing in Sacramento, like that's something fun. You should be marketing that.
I think it has a lot to do with his play style. I think
Yeah.
he's not he can be flashy at time, but other than that, he's just going to get a bucket. He's athletic, but he's not uber athletic. It's like the only thing they want to market in this league if you can shoot like a motherfucker or you're uber athletic.
That's a fact.
That's the only, or you just a
Yeah.
dominant presence. That's the only way. If you Sacramento and Portland organization wise, no difference. But why Dame stuck out is because he shot the ball.
Mm,
He got 60, and people didn't talk about it because he got 60 surgically.
yeah.
He didn't get 60 just blowing threes, hitting 7 threes. You're not gonna see that in this game. You're gonna see him get to the bucket, get to his spots, make his shots, and try to win the game.
That's a fact.
They don't care. Like they don't care to really show the genius. It's buckets all over the league. Jalen Johnson don't get talked about. He's a potential star. Like there's a lot of people that just because they don't fit a necessary mold that everybody likes, which is shooting or a high flyer, you don't fit that mold,
And
and
it's
they
funny.
don't get that sunshine.
It's funny to make this conversation as well because like it's funny how this has shifted now, right? Like we used to talk about the WNBA not knowing how to build and market its stars. And now it's slowly starting to become the NBA because they're so reliant on the Lukas, the LeBrons, the Stephs, and these guys that they're really it's starting to become a concern that they're going to be a little behind the eight ball at marketing that next generation of stars. Yeah, of course the Ants, these guys that have these larger than life personalities are gonna get marketed and pushed, but like the NBA got to start getting this together because there's some really talented players out there that should be household names or could be that aren't going to be just because the NBA doesn't put their games on national TV.
Yep. And I think that's just something we fall in. The NBA never did Sacramento right.
Yeah,
Down from Mike Bibby and Chris Webber, like they never got it
that's a
right. So
fact.
like I think that's just something Sacramento is just going to forever deal with
Yeah.
until like I said, they get some light skinned motherfucker come shoot three.
Or they're going to have to do what that Chris Webber team did. They're going to have some type of amazing run in the playoffs and an amazing series that because that is going to be on national TV. That maybe then now with the more recognition and stuff that then more people
Mm-hmm.
take notice heading into the next season. So maybe that's the path for the Sacramento Kings to get there.
Yep, that's how Denver got it.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a big fact there. Last topic of the day, Steve, before we get up out of here, man. I know James Harden is always a hot button topic, but he passed Ray Allen on the all-time three-point list made. He passes him. He's now second, only behind Steph Curry. What's funny enough is that Steph Curry still has about 800 and counting above above James Harden. So James Harden even said after this that he said, "I'm the most confident, one of the most confident guys in the league, but there's no way I'm catching Steph." Does this accolade make you view? How does this make you view Harden any different when it comes down to all-time greats to play in this game, if it changes it at all?
It doesn't. I'm sorry,
I knew the answer
I,
before I asked you.
like like I get an arguments at all the time, and they was like, "You got to really talk about how he was scoring in Houston. Like that stretch was amazing." I'm like, "No, it wasn't. I mean, stat wise, yes. Like, are we gonna talk
Mhm.
about his stats? Can't scoring in the NBA is impressive,
Yeah.
but when you can't touch a motherfucker and they can't, you like what? How am I impressed about he was allowed to drive to the basket, shoot 25 fucking free throws, and just step back and shoot threes all day.
And then we're
Of
not even going
course,
to talk
you
about
gonna break some records.
the little hook move that he did to draw
The
easy
hook,
fouls.
yeah,
Yeah.
like don't get me wrong. There's savvy ways and there's savvy things as a veteran that you pick up, especially when you're older. He wasn't even older at that point, but it's
Yeah.
just things you pick up, and I understand it in a certain moment. But when you make that your whole game, your stats is your stats, but what's the results of them? Pointless basketball because
Yeah.
you ain't been in nothing meaningful ever. And when you did, you just continued to jack them threes and you lost because of that. So yeah, I mean, kudos. It's a plaque you could put up on your wall and show your kids one day. Kudos to you. But when it comes to basketball purists around the world, we don't. You're a great. I don't even call you. You a good shooting guard that was uber talented, but the way you play basketball messed up your whole resume to me.
Yeah, I mean, James Harden is you can't take away and deny the talent that James Harden has had in this league. What he's been able to do as far as like that high usage, high volume player that's going to put up points. Like he's one of the best to do it. But it still comes like it's hard for me to separate, and maybe this is just a personal thing for me to separate the disappointments that we've seen from him repeatedly in the playoffs when it matters the most.
And if you just talk about his play style in general, there was a lot of players that played just like him that didn't get that opportunity.
Yeah.
Michael Beasley. That Michael Beasley can do the same shit if you just let him play ISO ball and do Joe Johnson. There's a lot of people that was excellent at ISO ball.
Yeah.
They didn't get the same opportunities he did to carry a franchise in a time where he was just. And I think a lot of things that came.
Joe Johnson is a really good comparison. I'm sorry to cut you off, bro, but I never thought about it because if you put Joe Johnson in this, that's go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's the same thing. It just. It was way more efficient, so it's not the same. He was 3 dribbles and I'm pulling up in your face, and ain't nothing you can do about it. But with him, it was a little bit more because he manipulated the game. He was going to the playoffs constantly. He was in a rivalry with the Warriors in the West, where the West was the West at the time. That was the best conference in the league, so that's also why his popularity so high. So I get it. He was a personality. He had the beard. He talked shit. And it's like I admit there was times when he was playing that Warriors and he hit that dumbass game winner over 2. I forget what it was, but he had like 50 that game. I was like, this motherfucker's just crazy. It's nothing I can say. He's talented, but like I said, at the end of the day, your game is you're gonna be another player where we're gonna say because of the way you play, that's why you didn't win.
Yep, gonna be another one of those guys and probably never get a ring because of his play style and of course other situations manifest as well. But that's just a lot, man. And we'll see when James Harden hangs it up where he definitely a Hall of Famer. Like that's no question about that. He's
Hall of
gonna be a
Famer
Hall
in the
of
strip
Famer.
club too.
All righty. All right, Steve-O. Any last thoughts before we get up out of here?
I think I said enough.
All right, brother, man. Y'all can follow us at NBA Central Pod. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related, and we'll see you guys the next time we do a video, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.